Thank you to our sponsor, EJ Cards, a small but motivated company specializing in cards. EJ Cards believe passionately in great bargains and excellent service, which is why they commit themselves to give you the best of both. If you're looking for something new, you're in the right place. EJ Cards strive to be industrious and innovative, offering customers something they want, putting their desires at the top of the priority list. Find EJ Cards at www.ejcards.com.au or shop 394 to 398 Middleborough Road, Blackburn, Victoria, and also find them on Facebook. Thank you very much, EJ Cards, for sponsoring us.
Welcome, everybody, to the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We are your hosts, Adam Amy, joined as always by Russell Gibson. Russell, how are you on this fine Sunday night?
I'm feeling actually very refreshed. We just went away for a couple of days on a little family holiday and got back today. It was mostly wet weather, but we had, a couple of glimpses of some sunshine and
bit of sunshine. Good.
Yeah, it was really good. Really good just to get away, actually. But also glad to be back. So, and yourself, Ad, how are you?
Oh, I'm a little under the weather, I will say. I have picked up the spicy cough, obviously.
It's a spicy one.
After the government's gone, we don't care about COVID anymore. My body's gone, hey, I'm going to go catch it. So I get to experience it. Firsthand, triple vax though, so I'm guessing it's not going to feel that bad.
Yeah.
Long weekend, so plenty of time to recover for work on Wednesday. So if anyone asks how I spent my long weekend, it was
eating vitamin C and
pretty much
watching Netflix.
Yeah, which is no different to what I'd normally do, probably. Let's be real. And watching some NBA. So
yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. Got a little bit to talk about this week.
Yep, dialed it up.
We've there's a lot of little things going on.
Yep.
We've seen a handful of games in the NBA.
Yeah, it's happening. It's definitely happening.
It is. There are some surprises. The Utah Jazz probably being the biggest of the surprise packets.
You think that's your biggest surprise so far?
As far as a team goes, yeah.
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 And obviously that's a surprise because you thought their record would be 2-5, not 5-2. Is that what you're saying?
I thought they'd be just 0 because I thought they were trying to tank.
Yeah.
I thought the plan was just get rid of everything and we'll tank for the number one pick.
Yeah.
They don't know how that works because they're winning games.
That's right.
Like you sell everything off, but you've still got to lose the games in order to get that number one pick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Lakers don't have a pick next year, and they're doing it correctly, being 0-5 as we speak.
Yeah.
Trailblazers doing well. Like it's an interesting, interesting handful of games. Like every team sort of, I don't know. Your boys are on the winners podium as of today.
The Kings finally got a win today, so that was nice. And I think my biggest surprise so far of the season has to be the Nets. I just think I know I said this in the last couple of weeks in the previews. I'm not going to pick the Kings to be the NBA champs. I'm not going to do it. But I think at the back of my mind, I was like, they're very much a dark horse, and they're the way they've come out. So
yeah,
I'm going to be wrong about these numbers that I'm going to put forward, but there's something like 30th in defense and 18th in offense. It's something
bizarre.
Just absolutely, you couldn't imagine how bad this team is, and basically that's just how bad they are. And so really interesting breakdown actually came out from the Ringer today, and they were talking about Ben Simmons, the way he's been playing, and they described him as being active, but then at the same time avoiding contact. And I actually can't think of a more beautiful way to describe the way that he is playing at the moment. It's exactly that. He's actually quite active and he's out there, but if you really, how many charges, I'd like to see that stat. How many charges has he drawn this year? That's probably like a really good one to actually say objectively, this is how much contact he is avoiding, and I think that actually goes a long way in terms of, playing D and stopping people getting from the basket to the basket, So interesting stuff.
It's been a while off the court, so it'll be interesting to see just how it progresses.
Yeah. And have you watched any games this year that you've really enjoyed?
Not really. I've just sort of snippets here and there.
Yeah.
And because I keep trying to tune into Lakers basketball, there's definitely not a game I've enjoyed so
Yeah.
far. That said, and this will probably lead on to one of our listener questions.
Yeah, sure.
But the Russell Westbrook experiment began yesterday with him coming off the bench, and
Yeah.
I actually thought that was probably an overdue move. And it looks like it might actually have some validity, and it appears that he's on board.
Yeah.
We'll see. It was one game sample size, but he looked good running the second unit.
Yeah.
Still the same old West Brick in the clutch, but you know what I mean. He gave the team a lot of energy, and things looked to flow a lot better. Speaking of the way this team is constructed, it's gone back to the Anthony Davis sitting it out game. So
yeah, I mean, look, I don't want this to turn into a LA Lakers pile-on, but I think being objective, Anthony Davis is brittle, and the body language that Westbrook had in. Did you see the video of him in the warm-ups when he was not warming up with the team in a way?
I saw that one.
That's very bizarre behavior. That's not
Yeah.
normal. And I think the way he's been playing too, I almost think he was playing in that very aggressive sort of shot-seeking way, almost to bait the team into doing something, like to trade him or send him home with payment or bring him off the bench. That was the feeling I got from that he was trying to make some type of, bizarre point. But anyway, I don't really want to talk about the Lakers, to be honest. I think the Bucks this year have been really good. And
of course they are. They haven't lost a game.
Well, no, what I was going to say was, yes, they haven't lost a game, but just the quality of basketball that they're playing is, it's very beautiful basketball. And, my sort of feeling about the Bucks is I normally never watch them in the regular season because they don't care about the regular season. They don't try a lot. They don't play their stars or their starters even, 30 minutes. Like, that's not their philosophy. So, whereas this year I kind of feel the opposite. I'm like, actually, I'm really enjoying, seeing these guys play. And the other thing I've really been enjoying watching at the moment is actually the Warriors second unit, because I think that's a really exciting, they're putting out Jordan Poole and they're putting out Wiseman together. I think that's really fun. Like,
Jordan Poole's looking good.
Yeah. It's not the greatest basketball and it's not the most beautiful, but it's fun. Like, I want to see these young kids. Like, I love Steph and I love Draymond and I love Clay, but geez, like, I don't know.
This is the next generation.
There's something fun about that. It's like building a 2K team, the Warriors. You know what I mean? Like, they've got like awesome, players now, and they've got these these young guns coming through, and they've got this salary cap that's, $500 million or, whatever their tax is going to be. It's just wild. All right, enough of that sort of general chit chat. Let's move on. What do you say?
Let's
talk some cards.
Let's talk some cards.
Yeah.
Where do you want to begin?
I think the person I wanted to start with tonight actually is Jalen Brunson. And I think the main reason for that is just because, again, of the quality of basketball that he's been playing. So in his first 4 games, he didn't have a single turnover. And I think that type of decision-making, that type of flawed gentlemanship, that's what you need. And I think, just to double down on that point, that's what the Knicks need in the worst kind of way. They just need someone who's solid and someone who's a really good player. So I think the interesting thing for me about Brunson is that he's a little bit like Grant Riller for the Hornets. If you're getting Hornets in breaks and then you weren't getting LaMelo, you're getting, Grant Riller. And I suspect that there was a few people feeling that way too when they were hitting Brunson. Okay, I'm not hitting Luka, I'm getting some scrub that's Jalen Brunson. So look, if you've hit these cards in the last couple of years and you have put them way into a box and you've forgotten about them, dig them out. So let's have a look at his silver PSA 10. That's up 63% in the last 3 months. And I think that there's 2 parts to this. One part is that he's playing amazing basketball. And the second part is that you're applying the New York Knicks rule to this. And I say this is the same thing when you price rookies. Knicks rookies are always like double what they should be worth. And same as PYT prices. Honestly, I mean, Knicks are pretty cheap at the moment. But in some ways, I always think they're about 40 or 50%, extra juice just because it's the Knicks. So I think that's real life. I think he's getting a lot of exposure. And well-deserved exposure too, by the way. This is not just like puffing some dude up. So current price is $185 USD. Look, If the exchange rate was a little bit better, I would probably say, yes, that is still a buy at this point because I think this has still got room to move up.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if he's an all-star this year? I know that's a very much a long shot, but
Well, he's
it's
in.
not it's
Well, it's
not a
not
long
East and
shot.
West anymore, so it's just you're looking. You want him to be one of the. I suppose. What are you looking at? One of the best four guards in the league.
I'm almost going to say this as a hot take because I know it's so ridiculous it's not going to happen, but what if he got voted as an all-star again just because of like the New York.
The New York factor.
Yeah, just because you've got all these, he's on every primetime, nationally televised game,
Mm,
which look, I'm just really excited for this kid. I just can't be happier for him. And it's, it's also nice to see some cards go up like they have that would
yeah.
have otherwise been, like really throwaways and breaks if you want to say it in a kind way like that. So
Yeah.
what's your thoughts on Brunson?
Brunson, I think he was a solid pickup for the Knicks. It surprised me. It wasn't the big name that they normally go for.
Yeah.
And they've got quality in return. So you're right. He's actually going to be one of these consistent performers. And if you get the likes of who's he got around him now? He's got Randall.
Randall's there. Yeah.
It's that's pretty much their top two, isn't it?
Quickly's there. I think you could almost put Quickly into their sort of top 5 or top 6. I think the
Yeah.
other one too is RJ Barrett. And I think RJ Barrett's game is going to be better now the ball's not so much in his hands because that takes a
Yeah,
lot of that sort of ball handling pressure off him.
for sure.
And I think the other thing too is Tibbs really likes playing big guys. And I think that helps the bigs because Brunson has
Mm.
been doing a really good job of setting up some of their bigs. So I would probably say the loser out of this though is Randall.
Yeah, he
He's not going to
might
have the
be.
same amount of usage. He's not going to have the same amount of touches that he's
Well,
got with
he's not going
Brunson.
to be point Randall anymore, is he? Do you know what I mean? Like not going to be that guy that overuses the ball.
He's not going to be overusing it. He's still bringing the ball up the court, but at the same time, yeah, he's definitely not pounding it as much as he was last year. I would definitely
Mm.
say that.
If it changes their dynamic, I think it could be good for both of them. I'm just
Yeah,
hopeful. I'm a diehard. I'm a Randall tragic,
yeah,
so I think he's such a good energy player, and I think he'll adapt to not having to do everything for the Knicks.
yeah.
But yeah, good luck. New York
No,
aren't looking woefully terrible at the moment, but they're
no,
close.
definitely not. They're a really good team and
They'll be fun to watch. That's
definitely
the
good
thing.
to
I think
watch.
they'll be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. Alrighty, product review. Select first off the line. This is something we actually don't do a lot of, and
We
it's
probably
not
should
that
do a little bit more.
we probably should, but I'd also say too, there's so many better sources for this type of information. So,
Mhm.
but I really like Select. So for me, I definitely wanted to have this in here. Select is one of my favorite products. I think it ticks a lot of
Yeah.
boxes for me. You get the nice sort of rookie cards, like the imitation if you want, Prism rookie card, or the cards if you want to buy those
Mm.
silvers because you can't afford a Prism. That's another way you can look at Select.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I actually prefer the look of Select over Prism.
I don't really want to go down this rabbit hole because I think what you're trying to bait me into saying is that I like Select better than Prism, and
No, I'm not going to bait you into that. I actually aesthetically
hmm,
like the look of Select cards more
I
than
100% do, and in many ways I think it's a much superior product. But this is not what this is about. I'm just trying to like froth over it, really. So yeah, you get those rookie cards, you get the RPAs, which are really really nice, and then you get
hmm
the general inserts that I don't think Prism does as well as Select. So,
Okay.
and then
Yep.
I think the last sort of kicker for me too is that you get the courtside cards, which has been diluted because of retail, but at the same time, they're still really nice cards to chase. The
Yeah.
kicker with FOTL though is that you do get the first off the line cards, which are numbered either to 3, 5, or 15. And you might have seen them. They're the orange pulsar or the purple pulsar cards.
Oh.
They're really, really nice. The funny thing about FOTL is that FOTL hobby, first off the line hobby, is realistically it's sort of anywhere between 30% and even up to 50% more than regular hobby. But these FOTL cards don't they go for nice prices, but not probably in terms of ratio of what they should go for. So
You mean
If
as opposed to how much you're paying for the product isn't
Yeah.
reflected in what the cards sell for?
Yeah, because those particular first off the line cards are exclusive to that product. You can't get them, in any other product.
Yep.
So I suppose it's a little bit like the cosmic conversation we're having last week. So,
Mm.
you know, in terms of is it worth buying those cards? And actually, I think buying singles of these first off the line cards are it's very much worth it. So the other interesting thing for me too about first off the line is I've seen a lot of case breaks for this. So it's sort of at that price point where you're getting those first off the line hits. You still get all the other hits that come along out of those
Yeah.
boxes, but the price of it, it's actually you're not sort of bleeding out of the nose to jump into a case break. So it's been for breaking. It's been I mean, select is awesome for breaking, irregardless. But first off the line case breaks is just if you do see one, check out the pricing. If you can afford it, jump in. Like
For sure.
it's a really good product. And I think the only thing that and this is a very, very, very minor complaint, and it's obviously going to be rectified at some point, is that Cade, most of his cards are redemption. So that does
Oh.
for me, it takes the shine off it just kind of like, 1 or 2%. But
Yep. Yep.
yeah,
But
definitely check that out. I would definitely spend time, hunting around for eBay for some singles because, yeah, I think I'm not too sure why the photo cards do slip under the radar. I actually wonder if it's people don't realize what they are.
possibly.
Yeah,
Possibly.
yeah,
And there are people that I suppose don't pay as much attention to where a product comes from. They just look at the numbering or the coloring.
yeah,
But that's it. Something numbered to like 15,
yeah.
you think would draw more attention
So
than what
last
it
year
is.
I got a Halliburton
Yep.
for $100 of the first off the line.
Wow.
So
What's
look,
that? Numbered to 15.
yeah, and maybe I got lucky on that, and maybe that might not happen again. But at the same time, I don't think it's 100% luck. I think part of it is for some reason
Mm.
I think there's a little bit of value to be had in that space. Yeah.
Yeah, and it might not be immediate value, but it is. We've been talking about successful rookies down the track,
Yeah.
and the real path to, yeah, sure, a silver prism is one thing, base is not where it's at,
Yeah.
and numbered cards are
Yeah.
where it's at.
Yeah.
Not necessarily
Finding.
prism, but a rookie card of something that's numbered
Yeah.
in 5 years' time is going to be worth a lot more than one of the base color variants,
Yeah.
or silvers. In Select's case, the silver prism isn't really the outstanding performer, I guess. Do you know what I mean? Like in Prism, the silver is the card that you're looking for, whereas in Select, the silver isn't as sought after, but the
No,
numbered cards might be.
numbered, and I would also
Yeah.
say just the RPAs. I think
Yep.
that's definitely the stuff that people.
Or one of the 50 different one of ones. It's up to you.
Oh, thanks for reminding me about that. Actually, so I'm happy to name his name. So I went into Brian Forsman's break, which, if you've listened to the show, I think it's fair to say Brian is a friend of the show. So I was
Yes.
in his break. Brian is exceptionally good at talking while he breaks. And one of the things he did say was that in every case that he'd seen so far, there's been a one of one in it. And so, of course, our case didn't have a one of one in it. But
Murphy's Law, isn't it?
yeah, but it did make me think about what you just said then. Is it because each player's got 30 different one of ones and, there's X
Yeah.
amount in the photo set? Like, I don't know. It also could be that Brian is just, doing a bit of salesmanship and talking it
Yeah.
up a little bit.
Talk it up just a tad.
Yeah. All righty, let's move
Hilarious.
on. Final thoughts?
Yeah, if you've got the coin, jump into a select break.
Check it out. Yeah, first off the line. All righty, sad story. Joshua Primo. Something trickled out on Twitter a couple of days ago that
Yes.
maybe he'd been involved in a murder. Whether he was a direct participant or not, he observed it. There wasn't any substance to the story. Nothing was, really said. Then the following day, from Josh Primo's verified account via ESPN, he actually came out to say that he's seeking mental health help and that he'll be receiving that. And then very shortly,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I'm getting my timeline wrong, he was released by the Spurs, and then he came out to ESPN to say that. So then shortly after that, it was revealed that he'd been exposing himself to women. So
All I could think when you said we are going to talk about Josh Primo was what is it? What's the movie? Old School. We're going streaky. Oh
so,
boy.
so where I'm interested in this, apart from the sex crimes, which
Uh
we're not going to make jokes about, but um, is the card value stuff. What I've seen
mm,
subjectively is people are dumping his cards. So I've seen a lot of sale posts. People are just putting up cheap lots of his cards. The funny thing about this is, if you read through that, well, there's a fair bit of ESPN content about this. There's actually
mm.
teams kicking the tires on him already. So he hasn't cleared his waivers period yet, and teams can pick him up.
He will land somewhere.
That's the thing. He's 19 years old. People have done way worse stuff than this, and gone on to rehabilitate themselves.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting one. So the issue is, though, so the Spurs actually guaranteed his contract and they picked up his option for next year. So it's like 4.5 this year and 5.8, I think, the year after, which is not a small amount of money. But the rules with the waiver is that you need to either have the cap space or a trader's exception to absorb the salary into. So I don't think there's that many teams that
Are
have
going
it.
to
So
pay that much,
yeah,
yeah,
so
for it.
probably what is going to happen is he'll just go into free agency and then he'll get signed. And actually, I think in some ways that's more appropriate because then he's got time to sort of decompress, go through his rehab, and then come back sort
Mm,
of without any timeline sort of pressure.
yeah.
Looking at his sales though on eBay, I couldn't find anything on Card Ladder. He's still selling. Maybe it's that it's too new news that it's actually impacted. Like if you listed an auction in the last 7 days, these have just sort of trickled through. Like a number to 10 sold for 177 USD. I suppose that's on the 23rd. To be fair, that's a week ago. Maybe this is as you would say, a time will tell. We need to check in on Primo next week to
Oh
see.
wait, no, I'm not. It's not time will tell anymore.
Yeah,
We're bantering a couple of different ideas around.
talk to me. What do you got?
We're gonna give it an Andrew gaze into the future. That's one I'm workshopping.
That's too
And
hard.
what was it? What was the other? I'll have to go into our Facebook group. Don't worry, I'll come up with the one that's been recommended.
Yeah.
Um, the next time we're looking at the time will tell.
So, tough question for you. Is Primo a buy, hold, or sell for you at the moment?
If people are dumping it and you're
Yeah.
getting it at a right price, it's a buy.
Yeah. I actually have got the same feeling, to be honest, because I don't think the
It's
Spurs released him because of basketball talent. I think they released him because,
because yeah, it's unacceptable behavior,
yeah,
but it
no,
doesn't mean he can't play basketball.
yeah. So I suppose the question is, what's the comparable player to that? Isaiah Ryder was a constant head case. Rasheed Wallace was an absolute nut job, but an amazing
Yeah,
basketball player. Obviously, we're not talking the same amount of talent here.
this is true. This is true.
And neither of these guys have particularly got great card value. Maybe this is a stay away.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. I feel like off-court discretion, like indiscretion, doesn't stay around for long. So if he does rehabilitate and just become a good basketballer,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a tricky one.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's a very tricky one.
I I think
I
for
don't
me
know.
it's a stay away.
Buy at your own risk. How's that?
Yeah, for me it's a stay away. I would also say too, if you're holding a whole heap of Primo, I don't think now's the time to sell. I think you just have to suck it up and
Yeah.
hope that he comes back, stronger. So
Hope
yeah,
he turns the page, kind of thing.
yeah. On to much more happier news, Lauri Markkanen. So you actually touched on him already in some
Mm,
ways with the Utah Jazz when you spoke about him, and I I personally think Lauri Markkanen is the story here. And I think last year with the Cavs, I thought he played really good basketball, and I thought he fit that team quite well.
yes.
I suppose if I had the choice between Lauri Markkanen and Donovan Mitchell, I know who I'm choosing 100 out of 100 times. So I definitely don't begrudge the Cavs for what they did, but the guy has obviously got a lot of talent. He's clearly in a hot shooting streak at the moment, so you would anticipate that his shooting will go down a little bit. But the reason we're all here is for card values. He's up 311% in the last 3 months, so he's basically skyrocketed from less than $10
Yeah.
for a base PSA 10. The
Yeah.
highest point was 37. So we're still not talking insane numbers, are we, for someone that's playing really, really good basketball?
Yeah. Well,
His silver last sold for 135.
It's up 170%. So
Yeah,
people are like starting to realize that he might be the new front man in Utah.
yeah. So I suppose
Interesting.
the real question is now is, do you buy, hold, or sell that?
Sell?
Yeah. I think if you're holding Lauri and you don't PC him,
Yeah.
I think now is actually a nice time. In
Yep.
saying that, do you think there's still some more room to move?
Oh, look, I think the longer you hold, the riskier it is. But I still think there's a little bit of room to go.
Yeah.
Like the hype train hasn't left the station yet,
Mm.
so there's still opportunities there.
Yeah.
Yep. You'd have to have a few shockers in a row for everyone to really get off the train. So, yeah.
I think the little bit of Lauri that I've got, I'm going to flip and roll it into something PC. I think that's probably the way I'm looking at this.
Yep.
And I don't hold a ton of this guy. So, yeah, it won't be. I couldn't even imagine I've got 5 cards of his, but I'm sure I've got a couple
Yeah.
sitting around. So I'll definitely check that out. But
Yeah, I'll dig through my my rookie box and see if there's anything.
But hypothetically, if you weren't holding any Lauri, would you still look to buy this guy?
I'd be hoping to get last month's prices, not this month's. Like, I don't know. I think it's becoming too much. Like, I'm looking at the silver prices at the moment, like the
Yeah.
base stuff. Like we've said it before, base is probably not where we'd be looking to invest. You know what I mean? That's what, 35 US with current exchange rate. That's over $50.
That is the problem at the moment. We're just getting absolutely
That's
slaughtered on the exchange.
Australian.
But
But
I'm just trying to apply the Ferrugia rule here, though.
so you cash in while, like you buy and flip
Buy and
while.
flip, yeah, because I don't think this hype is going to die down immediately.
So using the Ferrugia rule, right? This guy has gone up to 35 USD. So you're trying to buy them at a what, 20 to 25 USD?
I mean, honestly, I'm looking at a silver. That's what I'd be thinking.
Or going, oh, let's silver. So silver offering around 100, trying to flip for 140 USD. Is that what? Because looking at the trend, I don't know. A week ago was what, 107. Yeah, if you can negotiate that $100 buy price, that's some good quick cash, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if it keeps trending up, though, you might not even need to. Because really, if you think about this, like,
he might peak at that 150 to 200.
yeah,
mark.
that's right. Like, we're still very much early in the season. You know, this is sort of a relatively new thing for him, and I think pop count's 152.
Oh wow, we've got I've got someone in our chat actually says,
Let's go.
we've got Matt Tabe just picked up a Portraits rookie Markkanen for $5 US.
Yeah,
tonight, numbered to 99. Bang! There you go.
beautiful.
That's the wrong segment. It's supposed to be talking about that in pocket change.
That's okay. We can forgive him.
But yes, no, Markkanen's an interesting one. It's taken him a while to find a home.
Yeah.
And hopefully Utah is where he's
Yep.
is situated.
Alrighty. Moving on, and I know I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly, but Bennedict Mathurin. So he is the rookie from the Indiana Pacers. 89 points are the most by a bench player in the first 4 career games. So it's really funny. I do want to talk about rookies in today's show, but there's nothing really to talk about them in terms of cards because there's no cards coming out. And I know that there's been teasers out for Hoops, but I don't think actually there's been a release date confirmed. So
Hoops won't be for another month or so, will it? At least 2, if not longer.
I was going to say, if we're going by the current release schedule, could it be 3 or 4 months, mate?
Yeah, true.
Anyway,
maybe it'll be the start of next season, and we'll start getting products for the previous.
Yeah,
it's rough.
So look, the Pacers have done really well. They've got Halliburton, they've got Mathurin.
They're
I think
doing the wrong. They're tanking the wrong way as well.
It's early days, mate.
This is true.
I was going to say the cream will rise to the top. What's the opposite of that? The stones will sink to the bottom.
Yes, I don't know.
Yeah. Look, I think this is someone you do need to keep an eye on. You know, last year there was a little bit of heat on Duarte, and did I think that was a bit overdone? I probably did a little bit. he was a 4-year guy at college. I'm talking about Duarte now. You were sort of expecting him to come in and, play well, off the bat.
Yeah,
So, I'm sort of treading here with a little bit of caution, but at the same time,
it looks good.
yeah, you can't ignore those numbers. And I think also being in the backcourt with Halliburton is such a blessing because he will
It's
make you a better basketball player and he will set you up for some, great opportunities. So,
mm,
I think that means a lot, to be honest. Yeah,
yeah.
pretty excited about that. So I'm going to jumble around a little bit here on the list ad, but I think we should talk about Paolo next because, sticking in the rookie
In
sort
the
of theme.
rookie
Again,
vein,
we've got no cards to talk about, but at the same time, these are his first 5 games: 29, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 21 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 23 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 20 points, 12 rebounds, 3 blocks, 27 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. Just absolutely crazy numbers there.
yeah, the Jordan comps have already started.
I'm not super keen on the Jordan comps. I wouldn't go LeBron.
I just laugh when everyone's like, through his first 5 games, he's averaging point 0.3 of like 0.3 points per game more than Jordan. I'm like, well done. Like, we don't need to compare him to anyone. Just witness this young fella get to work.
Yeah, look, I don't watch college, so for me, I'm very much getting to know
Mm,
these guys as they're coming into the league, and in many ways, I'm quite behind in that sense because I don't consume any college at all. But the thing that really stood out for me is his passing. I actually didn't expect that from such a, he's a big unit. I really didn't expect that from him, and I also think too because he scores so well. I think his passing sort of took me by surprise a little bit. So
yeah.
I actually like him almost as a little bit less athletic Grant Hill or a bigger Grant Hill. That's my sort of
Mm.
that's the comp that comes to my head. People are saying Jordan and all this stuff. I mean, come on, give the kid a break. I hate that.
Just let the kid play.
Yeah.
Like, why
Or
does he need to be compared to people?
well, I mean, why not just come up with a comp that A is more relevant? I mean, he doesn't play
Mm.
shooting guard. He's not going to shoot 40 shots a game. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's very true.
why can't we? Anyway, so that's my sort of two
Yeah.
cents on him. And
Oh, look, looking at the stats, and as the post you've linked to me,
yeah,
he is going to be a problem.
yeah,
He is going to be a problem in the league.
yeah,
He's entertaining to start with,
yeah,
and to go off like he has in his first 5 games has been very impressive,
yeah.
and it's actually filling exceeding the expectations, I guess, of a number 1 pick. He's not an early rookie of the year
Yeah, I'm okay with that
candidate.
take, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think he's definitely exceeding the expectations. He's not messing around, and he's leaving his mark on the league straight away. So it's good to
yeah,
see.
I'm down with that, mate. And I think, again, from back to a card perspective, he's going to skyrocket Orlando PYT prices, something that.
Yep, that's it. It's not going to be cheap to buy get Orlando in breaks. That is for sure.
It is not. Alrighty, Demar Derozan, 50th player in league history to get to 20,000 points.
Well done, Demar.
I think we have to give this guy some shine. He's the type of guy that is just in the background bubbling away, and we just never talk about him. So I think if you're a DeMar DeRozan collector, congratulations. His cards are a little bit actually difficult to comp, and I think part of that is probably to do with the fact I don't think a massive volume of his sells, but if you look at
Yeah,
his base number to 999 of his 2009 Topps Chrome, there
yep.
is a bit of action on that. So he's up 36%, and that began the graph at about 110 and peaked at 200. So, yeah, look,
There's not a lot of data. You're right. Um,
all his greater stuff has either got one sale or no sale. And I think, to be honest, I think probably using the number to 999 raw is the best to go by. At least you've got a few dot points on there. I don't know how I feel about this card, actually.
the number to 999.
Yeah, like, would I output 150 USD into this card?
Yeah, it's tricky.
On the flip side, though, the thing I like about this card a lot is the fact that it's numbered to 999. And I'm pretty sure I've been on a rant
Mm,
about this, about hoops when they number their Road to the Championship cards to 2000 or 2022 or whatever
Yep.
they do. But actually, when you sit down and think about it, you're like, actually, that's kind of cool because now I know that there's not 25,000 printed of these. There's
Yeah,
there's
there's
2,000
actually
of them. Yeah, so
that's fair. Well, you can pick up a PSA 10 for almost 1,600 US.
so in that case, is the Raw at that price a very, very, very good play because then you can send it off to PSA on the $30 subs and
Yeah,
roll the dice.
I think
I've,
that's yeah,
all right, I've just changed this card from sitting on the fence to a very strong buy
150 US. Get on it.
on somebody that is now in the top 50 scorers of all time.
And that's the thing. Like he does play for a bigger franchise now.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like it wasn't.
I
He's
think.
got a bit more, bit more of a follower.
Yeah, so
But
we actually spoke about DeRozan last year, and I would agree with that last year. The problem with this year is that I think it's going to be in somewhat the opposite effects. I think the Bulls are going to stink this year.
You reckon the Bulls are going to stink?
I don't like their chances at all this year.
Look, they've got some injury concerns
Yeah,
already, which is problematic. But I don't know. Utah's winning games. Could be. Who knows?
that's right. Only time will tell, Ad.
Hang on, I found it. Ados has suggested for this week, instead of saying time will tell, we'll say we'll have to Luke Longley into the future.
Can we shorten this down so it's somehow like an inside joke, but we can still use it? Because I don't know, that's quite long.
A Luke
Oh.
Longley into the future.
Yeah, okay. Actually, that's not so bad, is it?
That's all right. I just had to introduce it the first time.
Yeah.
That's all right. So it's a Luke Longley into the future and Andrew Gaze into the future. But I've got to reduce the number of time will tell.
Alrighty, pocket change of this week. What do you got for us, Ad?
I've got a listener that bought a Lauri Markkanen. I've got nothing. All I've got pocket change is COVID. That's what I got.
Yeah, that's rough, isn't it, man?
I have been trying to find some nice little bargains.
Yep.
Oh, Matt Tabe again.
Matty Tape, what do you got for us?
Charles Barkley up the wrong tree.
That's even harder for me. That's good though, Matty Tabe. I do like that. Alrighty, I actually did do some work into this, so I've got something for you.
Nice.
Last week we spoke about John Wall, and even though I was not on the same page with you, it actually I left the episode thinking about it. So I've been looking for some John Wall stuff in the last week or so.
Yep.
I found a John Wall that sold for US $1.30 plus $5.40 shipping. So let's just say $10 Australian shipped, give or take. It is a National Treasures 49 out of 99. It's 1920, so it's not his rookie year. It is in his Washington uniform, though, and it's a game-worn patch. I think if you've got a little bit of pocket change and you ended up with this card, I think that will be a really nice one.
Yeah.
My second one, which I'm actually quite salty about, I mucked up my bid management on this one. RJ Hampton Concourse Cosmic rookie card. This is going on from the Cosmic conversation we had last week. That sold for $13 US plus $4.75 postage. So I would have loved to have had that in my PC or my holding box for give or take $20 to $25 Aussie. That would have been some delicious pocket change. Yeah, I don't know how you feel about this segment, but I think this segment's here to stay for me, Ad. This probably
It is. We need
me the
some
most
of our
joy.
listeners. We need some of our listeners to be sending some in because I'm terrible.
Yeah. That's actually maybe we can almost set up like a tagged post or something like that.
Pocket change of the week and then get people to tag it in.
People can just always contribute to it. That's actually not a bad idea.
I mean, surely I can search the internet and find a funny image to put up and then put a post, and that's the way I can contribute to this segment.
Yeah. This next segment is from Sports Card Nonsense. It's from Maxwell VC. Logoman 1/1 Giannis Antetokounmpo sold for $1.8 million, BGS graded 9. A Luca 1 of 1 sold raw for 4.6 million. This is proof legacy performance has nothing to do with card value. If I had millions of dollars to invest in cards, it's crazy because Giannis Logoman was cheaper and more potential upside, with Giannis having the best potential as a current player outside of the top 10 all time to enter that. Okay, maybe the grammar is slightly off there, but I think what he's trying to say is Giannis is potentially could be top 10 of all time, whereas Luca is still you're still prospecting on Luca, but Luca is still $3 million ahead. I'm fine with this guy's opinion. Actually, I think it's very, very, very valid. What are your thoughts, Ad?
Yeah, look, I am a bit concerned with the everybody going all in on Luca thing, but this surprises me.
Yeah.
Giannis has
Sorry,
won two MVP.
what are you surprised by? Sorry,
How
specifically.
low the value of the Giannis was.
I agree with that. It seemed weird to me.
Like it, like before hearing about the Giannis, you look at the Luca and go, yeah, all right, sure, it's Luca. But then you see what the comparison of a Giannis.
Yeah.
It's a 1 of 1 rookie card.
Yeah.
But it's Giannis. The man's won 2 MVPs. He's won a championship.
Yeah.
Like Luca's done none of these things.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even if that's all Giannis achieves, Luca's got a long way to catch up to him. Yet the hype factor on Luca is so big. Is it? What is it? Like it's national treasures. It's not like it's. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying. So, and I agree with you, to be honest. So, what's the takeaway? What's your takeaway from this thought bubble or exercise?
If you've got $2 million, buy the Giannis now.
Yeah.
That card is worth more than the Luca.
Yeah.
Long term, that card is worth more than the Luca.
So,
and apparently, if you don't like the 9, just crack it out of the slab because it's national treasures and it's a 1 of 1. Like,
yeah,
that was an attempt to trigger you, but
no. I mean, I am going to respond to that just because I know you're trying to trigger me. But so I would leave it in the slab for 2 reasons, because I think those chunkier cards will generally get sent to BGS anyway, and I would just be scared of damaging the card.
At least it got honestly. A grade and didn't get authenticated by PSA.
So what this actually makes me think, and I've done no homework into this, I only just had this thought now, is remember when Matthew Yuga came on one of our episodes, and he was talking about buying Giannis autographs for about $1,000?
Yeah.
And he was saying that was like a real sort of value spot in the market. Do you think that actually what we're looking at now is a truly undervalued superstar?
Yes.
And is maybe the moral of this story, because, and this is how, pocket change came about. There's obviously only a couple of people in the world that can buy these extremely high-end cards. So do you start looking down at even his base rookies? Do you start looking at his select rookies? Do you start looking at his totally certified autographs and that stuff that isn't sort of the main Prism stuff, but there's still a heap of value there because it is Giannis and he is going to be a top 20 player when everything's said and done.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's really got me thinking about this. I mean, I think the other thing we have to acknowledge here is, when was that Luka sold? Was that Luka sold at the height of when everything was absolutely crazy, crazy town? And
well, you can look at the
is this the wrong time to be selling a Giannis 1 of 1? Do you know what I mean? Like, they've chosen the wrong time to sell it, and well, you could also argue that they chose the right time to sell the Luka, right?
Yeah, that's true. It is true. I mean, it's still a pretty glaring discrepancy.
It's huge, isn't it? Yeah. All right. So I think that's my homework for this week. Look into some Giannis stuff and try and find some value. Final thoughts on that one?
Well, they're both 1 of 1, so I couldn't buy 2 of them.
You cannot.
But you could buy 2 Giannis 1 of 1s of that caliber.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that.
Do you know what I mean? And have change.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you could use the change to send the Luka off for grading. Yeah, that's weird. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, yeah, that's a bit of a crazy one in my eyes.
It is a crazy one. Alrighty, this next one is an open letter to Tops, and I actually don't know who it's from, but it was published on Card Porn's Facebook. So, dear at Tops, have you heard that At Fanatics is entering the hobby soon? Do you plan on still being a successful company when that happens? You know what you could do to ensure your success in a post-Fanatics era? Be good to your loyal customers. Like this, for example. This is a baseball card. Shohei Ohtani auto redemption card was pulled in 2018. It was a $70,000 card back in the day. 3 years later, you say you still can't fulfill the redemption anymore, and you send the owner a Paul Goldschmidt card worth $4 and some loose packs. Do you think this is fair? Do you think you made this customer happy? Customer service matters, so how about you service your customers? Hugs and kisses, the hobby. So
Savage.
there's a lot to unpack here, and I normally avoid anything that's non-NBA like a plague, and for very good reason, because I know nothing about anything that's basically not basketball. But I think there's a lot of parallels in what happened there and potentially what could happen, and also, to be fair, is happening currently in the NBA. So Panini are going through and just backfilling all of their redemptions. They're giving people points. So I've heard about people having Kobe Bryant autographs and getting 5,000 points. So you could argue that that's, not fair value. Do I think it's a $5 autograph and a couple of loose packs? No, I don't think it's that bad, 5,000 points, but
it's
ballpark, right? So, that's what I wanted to more
the thing
talk about
is, though,
here
like,
is the issue at hand. Yeah.
If you're Panini and you've got a Kobe Bryant auto to redeem, how do you go about finding equivalent value?
Yeah.
Like, it's not easy.
Mm.
I'm sure they settled on points because points can get them a variety of things and not assume what the person wants.
The problem is, if you've got a Kobe, you would want, say, a Ja Morant or a Luka or
If I've tried to redeem a
Zion.
Kobe, I want a Kobe.
Yeah, agreed. But like,
Yeah, I know.
it's not happening. Or a Giannis. Okay, so let's make a list of 10 people.
Yeah.
You come up with 5, and I'll fill in the rest. How about that?
Okay. So what, you people that
are currently in the league that you could realistically get a redemption from, and you can't even say LeBron because he doesn't sign.
And he doesn't sign. So what? Giannis? Well, he's not signing at the moment, is he? All right. Steph Curry.
Yeah.
We'll use Luka.
Giannis is currently not under contract, but I don't believe that he never signs.
Okay.
So I think that's where he's at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. Depending how the weather is. So Giannis, Curry, Luka.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say Ja and...
That's 6. That's 5.
Is that 5?
That's 5, yeah. So then you could say Zion.
Yep. It's difficult, isn't it?
It's tricky. Like, the really sort of top dogs in the NBA. I think you could say Cade Cunningham, just based on his sort of potential. And then I would even throw in, say, Paolo into that. I'm cheating a little bit, but I think...
But using rookies, yeah, that's fine.
It's not the worst ever.
Yeah, it's not... But it's not easy.
And so, okay, so now we've had that sort of not a great thought bubble, but I think what we're trying to say here is that would you accept one of those autographs instead of that? And the answer would be, I would say yes, if you had a choice out of those. The issue is 5,000 points is not going to get you one of those. You need at least 30,000. And I think that's where I sort of take issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so...
For sure.
And I think, to be fair to this guy that received that sort of $5 autograph,
I can see that point. I can see that point for sure.
I think that's unreasonable. And I'd also say sending someone loose packs, I think that's a little bit of a kick. You could have sent him, and I don't even know what the equivalent is, but you could send a box of NT, or you could send a box of Flawless. I think if you had a card that was worth 70K, I think, or another equivalency could be a case of, say, Prism. Because I think if we're being honest here, what these companies actually, it costs them to produce it.
Yeah.
Is not what the ticketed price is. I think that's not that's not outrageous to say that. So
yeah, I mean, Panini have gone off to basically say once a redemption's expired, there's no onus on us to give you anything.
So
do you know what I mean?
If it's being ripped out of a sealed box as of today, and the redemption is expired, that's 100% correct. They're not going to redeem it. You've definitely
Yeah,
done your money, as
done your
you
dough.
would say. Yeah. What do you think is going to happen for the NBA moving forward, with this type of scenario? Because the only thing which I think is somewhat incorrect about this letter is that it said, "Dear Tops, have you heard that Fanatics is entering the hobby soon?" Well, my understanding is that
Mhm. There's
Tops
yeah,
Tops is owned by Fanatics. So I would say very much they not only do they know about it, I
yeah,
mean they're owned by them. So that actually, this doesn't warm my heart, because if this is what Fanatics is essentially now doing, well then where does that hold us for NBA moving into the future? And
yeah,
there's been a lot of rumbles that Fanatics potentially could be buying Panini. Well then, is that what we'll be receiving? Like, I'm waiting on a heap of redemptions, to be honest.
yeah.
You
It's
know,
interesting.
what is
It's
going to happen?
interesting.
I'm going to get a couple of loose packs and some $5 autograph.
No loose packs. A dodgy autograph of such. Anyway,
I actually had
I don't like it. That's probably the one thing with redemptions. You love getting a redemption and going, oh look, I can send off and get a thing.
Yeah,
But it also means that you don't have the thing.
yeah, and you're held ransom by
Yeah,
said company.
You don't actually have the thing, and it's deflating. Imagine it's like, oh, you've won a redemption of Cade Cunningham, like awesome. And you're like, I'm gonna get the number one pick. It's gonna be an RPA. It's awesome. And they go, nah, here's 500 points or 3,000 points, whatever. Like yeah, I don't know. Redeeming stuff in the window versus redeeming stuff outside the window as well. There's got to be a consideration.
I wonder if, and I know this would take more effort on the end of Panini, but I wonder if, just say you were sent an email, even if it was automated, and it said, these are your three choices.
Yeah.
You can have points, you can have sealed product, or you can have your choice out of these cards, or your choice out of a white box or something like that. Because I think that way,
all right, so they send you a link. They send you an email and say, please follow the website.
log
Here are
into
your
your Panini account. Yep. And
Yep.
here's an update to your redemption. Okay,
All right, here's the update to your redemption. We cannot fulfill it.
Unfulfilled.
Here are your options.
Yep.
Would you like points?
Yep.
Approximate value?
Yep.
White box?
Or sealed product? Because
sealed product, yeah.
Like, clearly sealed product is in play here. They sent him out some loose packets. But I think where I take exception to that is the number of sealed packets. Like, you know, to be honest, I think that's a slap in the face.
Here's a first off the line box.
Yeah, look, if it was a sealed hobby box, I would say that goes a lot longer way in what they've just done here.
And
if
it's
it was
interesting.
Sealed,
it's interesting.
If it was a sealed case,
Tops versus
I think that changes the conversation altogether. And look, maybe I'm living in an absolute fairyland here, and that's never going to happen, and these companies are never going to send out sealed cases to people. But for this extremely high end stuff,
it's interesting, isn't it?
$70,000 card. I mean, geez, isn't that the least they can do?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, that's enough of my rant on that.
Nah, that's more than makes sense.
Alrighty, the listener questions. Andrew Dean. All
right, now you've answered a few of these on the page.
Yep. Oh, Russell Westbrook. All right, I'll go through this really quickly. We already spoke about Westbrook in the introduction.
Yeah, we did.
And but let's do it anyway.
Let's talk about Russ, not Russell Gibson, but Russell Westbrook. Brick, I think, was the Andrew Dean comment. If you're holding his cards, what would you rather do if you were the Lakers?
Yeah.
Would you rather send him home, keep playing him the way they have been, or bench? Well, they've made a move and they've played it. They're playing him off the bench, and I think that's actually we talked about this at the start of the show. It's a change. I don't know how it helps his card prices though. Are you doing the same thing I'm doing, and that's looking up Russell Westbrook?
Yeah, I'm just jumping into eBay, into Card Ladder at the moment just to check his value. Look, my general feeling about Westbrook is that whether he plays as a starter, he comes off the bench, he gets traded. He's a little bit like James Harden in that I think it almost doesn't matter what he does. His value is...
The damage is done?
Well, he is what he is, and some people are popular and some people aren't, and I think it's
Yeah,
pretty safe. I'm not even being controversial here, but to say that Westbrook is really not that popular with collectors. So,
yeah,
and I think
yeah,
a little bit of it, and I've talked about this in the past with Chris Paul. I think it's a little bit a way of their demeanor and the way they sort of behave on the court.
yeah,
It's not incredibly endearing to people.
yeah, yeah.
So,
It's a
look,
tough one.
honestly,
If
I don't think it matters A, B, or C. Frankly,
I think he's hit his peak in the hobby. Those that PC him have got what they've got, but there's nothing that's happening at this end of his career to make him hobby relevant again.
yeah. So
Unfortunately,
just to go through some of the other answers. Jared Begg, I PC Westbrook. So anyone looking to offload his cards cheap, let me know. Excellent, Jared. I think probably eBay is your friend at the moment, mate. It's all really cheap like that stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, surprising, isn't it?
yeah,
Jared again. I think he needs to be handling the ball, and that won't happen if he stays in LA behind LeBron. He's a drive and dish player. Definitely think if
yeah.
he leaves and becomes the main man on another team, then his prices might go up. I think the issue with that is, I mean, we've seen that scenario play out. We've seen him in OKC for however many
But we
years.
saw him in Washington be the main man, and it still didn't do anything for his card value.
Yeah. The
Um,
funny thing was the outcomes in Washington weren't
were better.
terrible, were they?
Him and Beal got along really well.
Yeah.
Apparently, they were great teammates.
Yeah.
And there's already talk from some of the lesser players on the Lakers that say he's a great teammate. Like he's the guy that get around him at training, that'll get around them at training.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's interesting what the media is doing and I get that he's a different player on game day, but yeah, it feels like he is a locker room guy when it comes to training and development, which is weird.
Yeah.
Interesting, but yes. Um,
Next question from James Gregory, 150 members, 50th episode. Congratulations, guys. You're doing a great job. Thank you so much, James. We spoke about this last week and think, we're always shocked when anyone A listens to us and B says nice things. So, mate, thank you so much. That's great. Do you find that collectors collect players or do they stick with their team? I PC Derek Rose and I watch a lot of Knicks games and breaks. I'm always in trying to get New York, but I'm actually a Blazers fan. So, really good question, mate. I think this is a good one. Ad, do you want to answer first, mate?
Look, I went off the. I'll go back to my old little side PC in Julius Randle.
Yeah.
I've gone off the boil, but I didn't sell out of Randle. I do keep tabs on him. I prefer his. Well, obviously, I prefer his Lakers stuff because that's his rookie year. But yeah, no, any nice modern like current day Randall stuff, either New Orleans or New York, I'll still look up to pick up for the PC. But I think you've got a lot of people that collect a player, and LeBron's probably because he chops and changes teams. So it's LeBron collectors that would be the ones that don't care where he plays; they just love LeBron.
Yeah.
But you do find players that do PC a lot of for their team. Like I'll never pass up the opportunity of good value for Lakers cards, and I've sort of got a little collection of Lakers stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't know about. I obviously had a main PC of someone that stayed at the one team their whole life, their whole career. So I'm probably not the one to ask when it comes to player. If Kobe
Yeah.
had changed teams, I don't know how I'd feel.
Yeah.
It'd be weird. But
So
yeah,
so my example of this to answer is Kyrie because he's actually led the league in jersey sales in two different cities. So he led in Boston and he led when he was in Cleveland.
wow,
So that to me means that people collect players irregardless of the team that they play for.
fair.
I have no idea how his jersey sales are going in Brooklyn. I kind of suspect they're down a little bit, but all jokes aside from that, if I'm reflecting on this from my personal perspective, if Fox was traded, I would be watching the Celtics
Yeah.
all the time. I think that's pretty fair to say that. So
Mm.
maybe it is more about players these days and teams. And
Yeah.
maybe it's also about the era that we're in where players do change teams so frequently that you have more of an attachment to a player than a team because the team
Mm.
is just changing so frequently. So I suppose the exception to that rule is the Warriors. They've just been the model of stability these last 10 years, haven't they?
They're definitely the benchmark
Yeah.
of how to do it right.
Yeah, and keep a team together. So yeah, Ben B. I follow certain players from other teams, but I'm a diehard Spurs fan for life. Have been since the age of 10. Andrew Dean. I PC and Nuggets player Zeke Naji, but I'm a Warriors fan since 1992.
Yep.
Andrew Hewitt, Dub Nation for life, but I love watching other players' games. I enjoy and collect. Same game multi got me watching every and any game I can. So that's a bit of a gambling reference there.
Yep.
Jared.
Jared,
Yep.
always been a Warriors fan, so always take him in breaks.
Yep.
Gets that why I started a PC of Jordan Poole.
Yep.
Yep. I guess that's the thing with breaks. They're not player breaks; they're team breaks. Obviously, there are some breakers out there that offer player options for the high end product and the high end breaks. But yeah, generally it's by a team.
But so that one specifically, that's a bit like the Jalen Brunson rule we were talking about at the start of the show. I doubt anyone was going into breaks to get Brunson cards. They were going in to get Luka, right?
And they just ended up with it.
Exactly, yeah. So I totally understand what Jared is saying with that. Yeah.
Timothy Price, I think there's an element of both. Personally, I collect Tatum and still would if he went to another team. Always try and nab Celtics when I go in break and happy with any hits from the team. Yeah.
Alrighty, Mark Schmidt. Team collecting is an expensive way to collect because there's always something to chase. Interesting. But I limit my storage and continually scale up and find excuses for more storage. As a Spurs fan of 30 years, there's been a lot of great players and moments, and the best cards are those that capture these memories. Interesting. So
love it. That's Mark, a team collector.
Yeah, I was going to say, is Mark in the minority here though? Because
I think a lot of people collect a specific player is what gets them into collecting.
Yeah,
and then they go in breaks for that team.
Yeah,
and they appreciate some of the cards that they get. That's what Timothy said, right?
Yeah.
But what Mark's saying is he's team collecting. He's a team collector.
Spurs for life, yeah.
Spurs, yeah.
Yeah.
And he just finds more and more ways to justify getting more storage for his ever-growing Spurs collection.
You want to do the last one, mate?
What do we got? Jared Boxhall. I've always been a follower of player rather than teams when it comes to the NBA. My two favorite players are Luka and Book. But if I had to pick a team, it'd be the Warriors. Due to always being a fan of the Splash Brothers, especially now they've got a new sibling.
Yeah.
Yep.
Alrighty, our last question of the night is from Carl Morey. Cheers for the shout out on episode 50, lads. A question for the group. Over here in New Zealand, we pay a premium for Steven Adams cards as our only current NBA player. In Aussie, in Australia, do collectors pay more for Aussie players? And is there a difference between successful guys like Patty Mills compared to prospects that never made their mark like Dante Exum? And then in brackets, he also wrote Ben Simmons. By the way, I like the mystery of short print or SSP being non-numbered. Makes you look into the card a bit more by doing some research. Really like the discussion around Cosmic Parallel in Select. Thank you, mate. Yeah, I just want to know the numbering. And I think you are right. It definitely does add a little bit more mystery to it, and you have to do more research. I just want to know a number, okay? Come on, Panini, just give me a number.
Tell me what I'm looking at roughly. Come on.
Yeah. What's your thoughts here, Ed?
Look, I think if the player plays for your nation, you're always locally, you'll pay a premium because the demand is higher.
Yep.
So, in the current, I suppose, in the way the world operates, internationally, you'll be able to find Adams cards cheaper than from your local markets. The reason is every second guy wants a Steven Adams card because he's a Kiwi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ben Simmons was the same thing. The hype was biggest here because he's an Aussie.
Yeah, I think Simmons is a tricky one, though, because he was the number one pick.
All right, we'll use Exum.
His stuff has sold for some crazy dollars.
And now it's worth crazy nothing. That's the...
It's actually not punted as badly as what you would think, though.
What about Patty Mills, then?
Yeah, so to be honest, I think the smaller guys is a better one. So we'll do Patty Mills first, then I'll do my example, yeah.
Yep.
I think Patty Mills sells a lot more in Australia than overseas. Yes.
Yes. But I think locally, people find, like, if you're going to list a Paddy Mills, and I'm not someone that sells a lot of in the way of Australian stuff, but putting it on a US card page or eBay under international shipping, or option 3, a local card market like the NBA card market in Australia,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you just put it on the Australian one? Because more people want Paddy here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like as far as, but if you see them internationally, they're not going for as much because the Aussies aren't as involved. That would be
Yep.
my thought on it.
I agree with that 100%. I think it is about. I think you will get a little bit more in Australia for it, but I don't think it'll be that much that there's a play to be had per se.
Mm.
But I think the point that I agree with you 100% is your chances of selling it is just so much higher because of the demand that's there.
Yep.
So in terms of making a play on this, the play that I've seen in the last couple of years is Josh Green from Dallas. His stuff in US markets is $1-2, and you can easily come back and sell it in Australia for 10 to 15, up to say $20. So
Yeah.
in terms of, making an investment and 10xing your money, even if it is a small amount of money for, a bit of effort,
Yeah.
I think that play is 100% there. And I would
Yeah.
also say too that it does go across the board to other players. So probably the other one that makes me think a little bit is like Luke Longley, because there's not a
Yeah.
there's not a heap of Luke Longley stuff out there. He has signed, but he hasn't much.
Yep.
And I suppose the people in America who are buying that are probably going to be tragic Bulls fans from that sort of three-peat era, which is a legit group of collectors. But I would also
Yeah.
say too, if you're buying that stuff overseas and then bringing it back, the two that sort of are the strongest standouts for me is Longley and Green.
Yeah.
The
For
funny
sure.
thing about Green that I feel though is that he's more of a hold for me than a buy and sell.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just think he's got a chance to be pretty decent. And I think particularly in that Dallas system where they
Mm.
value people like Dorian Finney-Smith and they value people like Tim Hardaway Jr., I think he's just got a chance. So, yeah.
All right.
Do you want to do a quick Hawks breakdown?
Yep. I'm on it.
You're
I'm
2 steps
fading a
ahead of
little
me.
bit.
That's
I'm
okay.
looking at the roster.
If you gotta go, you gotta go, mate. It's you've
No,
done us proud. You've
I
done us
can,
proud, honestly.
I can get to the finish line
All
here.
right, let's go.
I
Let's
like the Hawks.
great.
I do like the Hawks. All right. Who do we want to focus on?
You pick first, and then I'll pick second. How about that?
Cool.
Yeah.
DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah, sure.
I'm just looking at the roster. You're looking at card lab. DeAndre Hunter. There it is. All right. If anyone wants to sell me his silver bait prism for 50 US, please do so.
Okay,
DeAndre Hunter.
talk to me.
All right. Currently, Silver Prism PSA 10 is up 11.5%. Last sold for 56.88,
Okay,
peaking at 75 US in the last few months. Well, I think Hunter's a relatively not a sleeper, but someone hasn't been overly prolific as far as when people are talking about. It's probably the Trae Young factor. He's been the main focus, and now with DeJounte coming across. But I think this guy is a very serviceable player, and I think, Silver Prisms, PSA 10, 50 US, given it cost me about 30 US to get it graded, not a bad price.
okay.
But yeah, I liked this guy in the is it 2019 or 2018 draft? 18-19. Where are we? 2019 Prism. Anyway, so he's been in the league for a couple of years. I don't know. It seems like a key piece.
So he's the year after Luca. So he's 2019.
So he's 19.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
So my take on this guy actually is almost I couldn't be more polar opposite on this one. So he came into the league old.
Oh, that's
So
right. He's
the
yep.
way I think about DeAndre Hunter is he's like the anti-hero of Cam Reddish. So Cam Reddish comes into the league young. He's all potential, and Hunter is very much
Mm,
like a finished product when he came into the league. He's already 24 years of age,
yep.
and so does that mean that Reddish is going to be a better basketball player than DeAndre Hunter? Like, no, that doesn't necessarily mean it. But what does it mean in terms of card
Mm.
value and hype and excitement? And like Hunter is not exciting.
No, he's a
He's
3 and
not
D guy more than anything, isn't
he's
he?
not young. Blah blah blah. So that's probably how I feel about him. And
Yep.
so the only thing that does give you, some reassurances, or if you have bought into him or you're holding him, where you say, well, he's beaten out Cam Reddish. He's already done that. That's happened. And
Yeah.
now they've just put in a large amount of money to say, well, actually, he is going to be in the rotation over the next couple of years. And most
Yep.
likely they're going to be successful because actually they've built a really nice team around Trae Young. So, you know,
Mm.
I think for me though, you just really can't go past Trae Young because he's down a lot. And I was actually
Yeah.
so I almost have a rule these days of not to listen to cardboard nonsense the day that I record or the day before, just so I don't get almost like contaminated with their excellent storylines. But I did listen to it today because we did a bit of driving. So there was two really good things that they talked about today. They spoke about how people get swept up in what's currently happening, and then as the years go past, these players who were really hot prospects sort of get forgotten about and trickle down. And
Mm.
and either they said it in the podcast or it's just happening that we're talking about the Hawks today. I think Trae Young fits into that narrative, absolutely, perfectly. So look,
Yep.
cardboard nonsense. If I am stealing your ideas here, I do apologize. I'm almost putting like a caveat out, but this just rings so true to me. He's selling for 432 USD on a silver prism. It's not nothing, but at the same time, I think in terms of his star power, and I think this Hawks team has got a lot of potential this year.
Yeah.
I think the league is really wide open at the moment. So, and what I mean by that is, let's use the Brooklyn Nets as a single example. No, who would have
Yeah.
thought that
No.
they would start like that? You would at least assume that they'll make the playoffs, right? Like, there's a genuine chance that Nets aren't going to make the playoffs this year. And
I feel
essentially,
like it explodes this year. Like Kyrie could go off the reservation.
yeah,
Ben Simmons might not be mentally ready for basketball for
yeah,
another 12 months.
or ever,
And
yeah.
and yeah, and KD is doing it all on his own pretty much.
I don't know. I really like Trey Young at the moment. I think if you compare him to other
Mm.
sort of younger stars, what is he,
Yeah.
50% less than them? I'm
It's
all aboard this. Yeah,
I'm definitely yeah, I'm bullish on Trae Young as well.
yeah,
While I guess we're talking about the star end of Atlanta,
yeah. What else do you want to talk about?
DeJounte.
Yeah, sure.
DeJounte Murray currently last sold for 380 US for his silver prism.
Yeah,
And one thing I'll note, his silver prism has a pop of 138.
really.
Whereas Trey's silver prism has a population of 2,232.
Yeah, radio.
So my money is going, if it's similar in that similar vein, like around that 400 US, would go on as DeJounte Murray rookie.
Okay.
But I'm just I don't know where his ceiling is.
Yeah,
I think Trey's got a trajectory. I think DeJounte sort of hit his peak. So
yeah, but
you might be better off investing in Trey.
I think my counter to that though is that in San Antonio there wasn't a lot of hype around that team, and is he now walking into a space where there's going to be a lot of hype, national
Yeah.
attention because they make a deep playoff run? So low pop count, potentially successful team, deep playoff run.
Mm,
A few things have to happen here for this narrative to play out, but it's also not out of the question out. Like
yeah.
I don't actually think this is that much of a hot take to be saying that. So I don't mind that as a buy actually.
Yeah. Last sold 381 US. So if you can get under 500 Australian, jump on a DeJounte Murray.
So are you saying for an extra 50 I can get a Trey Young?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. In
Trey
that case,
Young with Not just no, with about 15 times the pop count.
Yeah.
I do think the pop count is relevant.
Yeah. It is relevant.
2,232 pop count versus
Yeah.
138. And I don't know if it's low because of that print run, that Prism
Hey, mate,
print run.
I haven't got it open on my screen. Is there any... What's Raw selling for?
Oh my god.
Because where I'm going with this is there a play to buy his stuff raw and send it off to be graded? Because I'm not saying...
No raw sales
No
on
raw sales. Because I'm not saying that they didn't print the life out of this product, but is it also too about the culture of grading that we're now in?
Yeah. Well, this is 2016.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we
true.
weren't grading 30,000 cards a day.
That's probably what we should touch base with next week, is to have a look at the grading numbers, because I think...
Let's do it right now. I've got it at my fingertips. So PSA graded yesterday 48,000 cards.
Jesus.
CSG 4.9 thousand, CSGC 4.6 thousand, and Beckett 3.3 thousand. Interesting thing that really took my eye, plus 38% Beckett was. So will we in the next couple of weeks see Beckett climb back up
in the...
take their spot in second place?
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll have to look Luke Longley into the future.
Alrighty, so I'm going to skip over John Collins because I think he's just someone that is middling, and people aren't. You haven't wasted your money on John Collins, but I don't think also too you're going to retire on that. I'm just going to finish this off with a bit of a smoky. So Jalen Johnson,
nice.
His base Prism sold yesterday for 1 cent. His base autograph sold for $5.50, and his silver sold yesterday also for $1.50 US. This is bargain. This is pocket change stuff.
Yeah.
This is right up my alley. I've got no problem punting on this. Level 3 Court Kings sold for $12.50. This is delicious.
Some juicy stuff there.
Yeah, he's not a bad prospect. I don't mind Jalen Johnson.
He's actually very good, and he plays the 3. Sort of makes sense. He really makes sense to this team.
Yeah. Ad, I think we should finish up, mate. I think I've driven you way harder than I should have.
That's all right. You know, this is what I do for our adoring listeners.
That's right. Any final thoughts, Ad?
Not really. I'm struggling to think now. It has been a little while behind the microphone. This has been a long episode.
You've done well, mate.
I think it's I feel like I've run a marathon, but that's just the COVID talking.
Yep. So I actually do have some very big news, and we probably should have brought this up at the start of the show. We have a sponsor that's come back on board. So EJ Cards.
Oh, nice.
Rob called me this week, and we had a very productive conversation. He was very happy with things are going, and we just basically haven't touched base for a little while. It's as simple as that. So Rob has also pledged a Traders Day for us. He wants to do that with us. It's just a matter of time of when.
Nice.
And also some sealed product for us to do some promo giveaway stuff.
Giveaways.
So that's all on the horizon for our listeners.
We better put our heads together and organise a trade day.
Yep.
Get out there and do it.
Yeah, let's do it, Ad. All right, guys.
Like
thank you so much for listening. We're always grateful for you to tune in, and we'll catch you guys next week.
See you guys next week. Bye.
Thanks, Ad.
Cheers, mate. Bye.